Sequels are hard. Too close to the original and they need to justify their existence. Too far away and it feels forced. So when Hades 2 was announced, I was really interested in how that would be done. Having got my hands on it, I can say there was a definite iteration in going from Zagreus to Millennium. So here's my thoughts on that. Also, spoiler warning, the gameplay in the back, I won the run. Oops. Zagreus and Millennium, the former a brawler and latter a sorceress. The power fantasy of the game reflects it. Rather than an offensive cast, she has an ensnaring circle for holding enemies in place, her choice of weapons are often more magical than martial, and she's able to do moves. Moves enhance the cast, attack, and special at the cost of mana. Relying on moves and mana fundamentally changes the power fantasy of the game, from being this bruiser fighting out of the underworld to a powerful sorceress with many tools for deliberate attacks. On top of that, the Mirror of Fate for this game, the Arcana cards, are very clearly tuned from the first game. One of the strongest abilities is activated sooner, dealing 50% more damage to an enemy with 2 different debuffs, showing that the developers knew about the meta that had formed in the first game. The Arcana iterates on the Mirror. Rather than having 2 choices, it uses a cost system with a few conditional cards. Conditions like having no more than 3 pairs of the same cost active at the same time, or having a full column of cards active. There are even cards in keepsakes that can activate inactive Arcana cards throughout an evening, leaving you to choose between a set of powers or ramping up to the final confrontation. Rather than an indication of power, the Arcana itself is yet another tool to leverage power intentionally. Additional damage, in essence, is damage that happens on ifs and whens, when an enemy has 2 debuffs from different boons, if your boon is active, if an enemy is in your cast, when you spend enough mana, when using a move. Aspects of weapons, boons, and the like have these conditions to activate and be used to the maximum potential. It's this conditional damage that sets the game apart from the original, feeding back into the power fantasy, in finding power through tricks and synergy rather than brute strength. The weapons and their aspects are a little obtuse, and not overtly strong, but conditionally. Some highlights are the staff with the aspect of Momus, the axe and the aspect of Charon, and the skull. In general, the staff and the aspect in particular caught my eye because it requires a good bit of forethought. After an attack or special move, a dude will spawn and copy the move, shooting it in the same direction periodically before fading. This also copies any properties from the Daedalus Hammer and boons, so should your attack shoot 2 lines in a cross, the summon will as well. Interestingly, this weapon discourages spamming, as using moves will reset the spawns and be a waste of mana. You're better off attacking while you have dudes firing for free, avoiding the mindful usage of mana and moves. Pretty drastic change from just running in and fighting whatever's in front of you. Meanwhile, the axe is considerably slower and stronger than all other weapons at base. Millennium is no Zagreus, but it's a slow and deliberate weapon, especially with this aspect. The aspect of Charon's core gimmick is with the cast. When the special move, the Cleaving Wave, contacts the cast, it enhances the cast to the Omega move variant and does more damage. I found myself lining up my cast with a special move and favoring boons that give my cast range. It presented a new avenue to prioritize my cast and special, keeping me focused on what to get and upgrade throughout the evening. Then the skull. It's likely my least favorite, but it's interesting because it reuses the cast mechanic from the first game, the same mechanic I discuss in depth later in the video. It's really interesting because you fire the skulls with your attack, then dash towards enemies with the special to retrieve the skulls, then making distance again. At the same time, that's exactly why I don't like the weapon, since picking up the craniums feel like a chore. It plays really well with the encouraged layering of different boons and debuffs to meet conditional damage requirements though. In the first game, Zagreus had the cast, a ranged attack that would stay on enemies and increase damage taken for a period of time before it would be removed and not have to be picked up by him. The boons would alter the cast in multiple ways, like making it a lingering beam, spinning blade, etc. From personal experience, if I wasn't getting an effective boon on my cast, I wouldn't use it. With Millennium, however, the cast has been retooled to not be offensive, losing the base damage and in return having no cost to use regularly. Boons allow it to inflict a debuff and deal damage from the respective god boon without using an Omega cast. The damage is often not as noticeable, gearing more towards fulfilling the 2 debuff requirement, keeping enemies in place, and applying a desired debuff. But why bring up the distinction? Because of mana. As mentioned, mana is used to enhance attacks and as a cost for damage. The cost of moves, and even attacks, can be added to via boons. Though chasing the cast was interesting, it did leave your hands tied if you couldn't make your way to the charges, whilst mana is refreshed between rooms and can be primed. Priming takes a set amount of your total mana away as a cost for powerful effects like Chain Lightning, making mana a resource managed in and out of combat, deepening the resource's role, but also giving a sense of magical manipulation to build power. The lack of cost in Hades asked players to understand and leverage the strength of their weapon choice, whilst the inclusion of mana demands that, and the management of mana in combat, and when choosing boons. But also one more thing, the Hex. Much like the cast, calls in Hades were either extremely good or a bit lackluster, and was behind all the other options to deal damage. Calls were charged by fighting and taking damage. Some could actually slow the player down though. For example, the Ares call could save you, but was so slow and ticked so little damage you lost precious time. Hades 2 tightens the calls into the hexes, abilities Melanwe can use after spending enough mana in an encounter. Hexes come from Selene, the first offering being when the hex is chosen, the following offerings upgrading the hex through branching upgrade trees. Examples of hexes are a quick leap that deal damage, a moonblast that deals massive damage with a delay, and briefly slowing down time in combat. Upgrading them also involves Godsense, when gods enhance the hex at least once, and at most twice per encounter, making them feel more special and allow for more power. For example, slowing down time could also deal a little tick damage during the duration of it, and even make Melanwe strike faster. Hexes better fit combat and builds as it's a conscious decision to build around them, either having enough mana and or spending enough mana to use it. Rather than absent-mindedly charging the call and just having another source of damage, the hexes can often swing fights and or give enough breathing room to win. For every offensive hex, there is a defensive hex that subtly changes the outcome of combat. Hopefully, my video highlights the domino effect that changing playable characters has going from Hades to Hades 2. In my time with the game and through doing this video, I find that the amount of control and intent baked into the game nails the sequel's identity. From selecting the right weapon, to building an Arcana deck and using everything at your disposal to outpace opponents. It's a welcome change to what I remember of Hades. As it stands, version 1 is to be released, and the way I see it, it's only up for Hades 2.